unfortunately result in a win.
Bit of a domestic dispute in the bottom lane.
That it is. Yeah, going to be a bit vulnerable, I feel like, to this Nocturne. If it can get on top of you, which, I mean, it almost certainly can.
Giving the Jace over without the Yorick answer to Zeus feels like it could have potentially been an error, but TF going to come through first at least. Twisted Fate Nocturne is a pretty diabolical combo, and that Jace is going to come through as well. This is a lot of mid-game power from HLE, as Dudu might be bringing out the Cassante here.
So, I'm not a huge fan of the TF in this situation, because TF into Neferi is miserable. But it does sync up well with Emilio, that extended range, and it's very clear that HLE want to play through their side lanes and accelerate those.
Is making her way onto the Rift in Pyoshik's hands. This could be a good one for the DN Supers to find a way back to get onto the Rift. All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the Rift for game number 2 of the DN Supers taking on HLE. This bottom lane has been very potent in the previous patch. I assume that Gumayusi and Delight should be having a good time once again. It is elsewhere on the map that we're looking to see whether DNS can make their mark. And so far, Closer is doing a decent job against Zeka. And an immediate hook here towards the bottom side. The piercing darkness coming on through from Doctarm. Gumayusi still dancing around this fight, though, his life going down very low as a result of that play.
He has to be a bit careful.
Another hook coming on in here as the Ignite does come on through. Heal and barrier both used from the bottom lane of HLE. Doctarm holds onto his barrier for now.
So that second time he went in, didn't have Aftershock ready and got absolutely chunked out. Also, that first trade, they healed super early, so the Ignite value wasn't really there. A big thing if you're taking Ignite into an Enchanter, I mean, it doesn't land in any lane, but typically into an Enchanter, you want to do it early so that they get the reduced heal when they do pop that. But because Delight popped it so early, he didn't really get the full value from that Summoner spell, and life having to reset does not feel good.
No. Dudu should be able to stand his ground here. We've seen the Cassante do an okay job into the Jace. Doesn't feel like a counter pick or anything like that, but can weather the storm.
We get Doran's Helm.
Hey, true, there we go. The one guy that builds it. Fantastic. Zeka is going to be able to at least take down the cannon. And Closer trying his hands at the Deathfire Touch Rise once more. We did see this from Scout earlier on today. And it was underwhelming when there was a Cassiopeia in the game. Now, his damage number is going to look way better because nobody else has it. So,
yeah, nothing
there you
to
go.
compare it to.
Where's the Deathfire Touch Neferi, though? Why isn't Pyoshik doing it?
Don't think that's really a thing when you're in the jungle, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah, more for laning rune.
All right. Well, Dudu is just taking a beating here towards the top side. And both of our junglers are going to meet towards the bottom river, by the looks of things. Kanavi just floating on over towards this Scuttler. And, oh, the Doggo's just taking some damage there from the Dustbringer. And Pyoshik is just going to accept that that bottom crab is the one that belongs to Kanavi. And he'll move up towards the top side and grab his own.
Oh, they're actually collapsing here onto Pyoshik. He has to be careful.
Yeah, it's a teleport back from Dudu, but he's not going to be able to get here in time. And Kanavi, with control of this side as well, will be able to grab a double scuttle to start this one off. And on a Nocturne, any extra camps feel pretty amazing.
You know, what's weird is I actually think that Pyoshik had a better chance of contesting the bot side scuttle. At the time, Closer was in a position where he could move. Ooh. And by going topside, you know, it's a Jace into a Cassante. Zeus had plenty of prio at the time. And you end up getting denied both Scuttle Crabs, wasting a lot of time for it as well. It's not the end of the world if you lose both Scuttles, but you'd love to have made something off that time and have gone somewhere and achieved something. Not just kind of walked around and watched them go down in front of you.
Does feel like a little bit of happy feeding from Pyoshik, unfortunately. Still going to be back out onto the map now, looking to head towards his wolf camp, I believe. That one is the one that's coming up next. Nice little shield there from Dudu to absorb the Shock Blast. And Dudu is once again with some pretty good money here in this lane in comparison to what K'Sante can experience against a Jace. And has actually managed to hold on to a decent CS lead once again. He did teleport a little bit earlier. Zeus only just now making his way back in. Kanavi going to lose out on his Raptor camp. And Pioshik is able to at least catch up a little there by taking that camp away. But Zeka just having a giggle, and for now, HLE are just slowly but surely building an advantage because TF exists.
Putting that free money. Does not have that level 6 available.
Whoa! For the first time this patch, we're not going to have a Chemtech Soul.
I locked in.
Thanks, Ops. I really appreciate it because it was kind of getting comical, the amount of Chemtechs that we had. As Life taking a bit of damage here, but you can see able to catch back up after the early whoopsie, but this could be another story as the re-engage is decent. Fire kick does come down. There's now no aftershock for Life.
Ow.
Doctom taking, a lot of damage. Level 5 here for Kanavi as Pioshik is going to show up, but he has to bounce over that wall before that fear kicks in. And that does mean that this 3v3 in theory, a little bit removed, is going to go the way of HLE as they do get the shove.
Yeah, you can see the amount of pressure Gumayusi putting down on this Lucian, and Life, goes in a little bit to try and mitigate the trade, but doesn't opt to use the ignite, and all that sustain coming through makes it really hard to trade in return.
Well, Zeka now has a wave to deal with as Closer is able to get that first roam. Well, Realm Warp is going to come on through, but Life may be dead before it even starts. The double snare is going to come down for Doctom, though, as the Destiny comes on in. Pioshik, pretty high health bar, as Zeus just gets solo killed in the top lane. Dudu's revenge was swift here after game number 1. And HLE now just lose out on first blood, and their top lane's on fire.
Dudu with a great kill onto Zeus. Felt like he had pressure for a good amount of this lane, but finding the all-in, finding the kill, absolutely huge. On this bot side of the map, we see the root come down, and it was a pretty unfortunate flash. We'll see the top lane fight first, actually.
Now let's check this one out. All right, Dudu just went for the all-out, all-in.
Yeah, wow. He just hit everything.
Yeah.
That's one way to do it. Yeah, so this ended up being unfortunate because this collapse from Close is so effective. And then the root comes down into light and he flashes and it just traps both him and his AD carry.
And if you had a flash down, I think Kanavi's spell shield would have actually procced. And it would have only been Delight snared.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I guess the only difference is Guma had to flash there, but maybe you would have had to anyway, being on that side of the map.
Yep, good point. And hindsight's 20/20 and all of that stuff. Doctom down relatively low, but he does have some healing of his own. Piercing Darkness helping out there as Pioshik moving on in. He'll find some daggers towards Kanavi. I don't know whether he's going to be winning this fight. We'll just have to see. Paranoia up and available, and Closer is making his way in. Should mean that Kanavi is going to get forced out unless Zeka can make some magic happen. But they are just going to forego the buff. So Pioshik able to brute force his way into the enemy jungle. Did manage to get first blood as well in that last exchange. And the little hot dog getting some work done.
Yeah.
And the rest of his lanes are coming over to help.
Yeah, they're moving aggressively here. Kanavi has to watch out. But it does reset, and I think that might be the end of the play.
Yep, that could be it. Pioshik just pops on over, and it should be some grubs maybe that he's going to look for instead.
Yeah, he's going for the Spirit Shojin first build again, which is what we've typically seen from LCK Neferis, but I was so looking forward to Cyclo Sword.
Yeah. You know what it makes me think of every time? That relatively new Pokemon called Cyclizar, which is just a lizard that's a bike.
Oh yeah, is that the one in one of the games you just write about?
Yeah. And so there are 2 legendary bikes, but then there's just a regular bike.
Yeah.
That's Cyclizar.
There's so many goofy Pokemon that are just household objects, or like just inanimate objects turned into Pokemon.
Like Rotom?
Yeah.
It's like a lawnmower and stuff.
I don't know what the name of it is.
Klefki? Klefki. That is just keys, yes.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I mean, there's like, what, 1,025 or something
Hey,
like
I'm
that?
not complaining. There's the Ghost Candelabra.
Yeah. There are 3, in fact.
Yeah.
And that actually is the inspiration for one of the Nautilus skins.
Yeah.
I don't have any confirmation on whether that's true, but I do think that it does look a lot like Chandelure.
It's nice to assume things.
Which Pokemon is every champion in this game, I wonder? I mean, Pyoshik's surely like a Houndoom.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing all that well, maybe it's a Houndour. There's a lot of dog Pokemon, actually. Plenty of options there. I'm not entirely sure what life would be. That's all right. We'll drop that one for now. Zeus and Dudu are doing battle once again. Let's see whether he can get another one, as there is the Dawning Shadow. Zeku is here this time, though, to try and help out, and they do just turn it around. Not a second solo kill here for Dudu, unfortunately, as Closer turns up just that little bit too late with his Realm Warp, and is now just going to have to catch this top wave.
Yep, this time Dudu not able to find a clean all-in, and Zeku turning up kind of put him on a timer to finish off the Jace, which he just wasn't able to do. Zeus looks aggressively for this trade, and then as soon as Dudu ults, we see the Destiny coming in. Zeus just doing a great job of dodging everything there. You know, last time the all-in happened, Dudu just hit everything super quick, and it was like, okay, Zeus is dead. This time, though, Zeus is able to kite around and avoid those, knowing that he's going to have the backup soon enough, and it did really make all the difference.
Yeah. Pretty well played this time around. HLE now move themselves to a 400 gold advantage. Not end of the world or anything like that, but their composition, it's not like now that you want to be winning. It's around the mid-game where you really want to set yourself up for success, and then 1-3-1 is going to be very difficult to play against, in theory, against them. I think team fights later on in the game in a neutral setting, gold even on both sides. I think DNS have a pretty nice looking comp, and if we get to the epically late game, Senna should theoretically be infinitely scaled and all that sort of stuff. So
the problem
that
is,
could be a problem.
Whenever it's been this farming center, the number of souls has always just been miserable.
Yeah, that's true.
Like Doctom's on 29 right now, which honestly is not the worst we've seen, but you think of typical center as being like you get, what, like 100, 140 in the later stages. It's going to take so long for Doctom to get to that point. Maybe beyond the point where it's really relevant at all because the game just ends.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my concern. Obviously, Senna with gold do a lot.
Oh dear, what about Senna with a health bar? That's also a little bit better here as Life tries to get out of there and is going to be able to do so. Oh, not quite in range. As the Paranoia not going to be pressed until now, where Doctom just insta-dies.
You know, I thought initially, so they're out of vision, and then Senna using the zone is kind of going untargetable, so it can't be ulted by the Nocturne. I'm like, nice, good job. Just wait out the Nocturnal. Didn't wait out the Nocturnal.
Yeah, they just instead waited out for Senna. Zeku goes down to 50% as they look to get back towards this dragon. Gumayusi just gone very far forward as Pyoshik sicks the dogs on them. Closer coming down. Does get a fair bit through here as Life making his way back to the battle, and Gumayusi flashing out of the way of the dredge line. The steal as well from Pyoshik as he dives in on top of Kanavi. Does manage to get the enemy jungler, but down goes Life as well. As Gumayusi is going to be flashing out of the way, or dashing out of the way. And the bleed is going to pick up the kill onto the flashless now Melio, who I don't think needed to flash at all. But still, sometimes you go down exceptionally low and you just want to get as far away from the bad guys as possible.
Ends up being pretty great play for DNS. It's still a gold lead for HLE, but Dragon picked up and those kills on the back end. Pyoshik's getting some mounting pressure in this one. 2-0-1 on the Neferi now. He is looking towards top lane. His ult isn't quite up and available yet, but he wraps around long enough. There was that ward on his Krugs, though, which I believe is why he got spotted out.
Zeus trying to flash away from these daggers, and he just kills the doggos and gets himself out. I believe dodged both, and therefore not in danger of bleeding to death. So well played there from Zeus, but still had to use the flash in a lane that was feeling pretty volatile, especially earlier on.
Yeah. And it's so scary having a Fed...
Oh dear. In comes Zeka. There's the culling onto Closer. Still, Gumayusi, does he have enough in order to take him down? Needed one more auto. The wildcards avoided. And Gumayusi almost dies to the minions and the turret, but is going to be able to survive. But so does Closer, most importantly. The problem is, this turret is still going to take the majority of its health bar. and it's going to eat all of the minions. So still not exactly great news here for DNS. That's all right, Zeka. This was the fight a little while ago.
Yeah, this steal on the dragon. Really frustrating for H. Oh, we're getting more action.
Yeah, not going to be able to see the steal as Life and Close are making their way towards this bottom lane. The depth charge comes in. Delight is going to get knocked up as well, but there's a paranoia as they look to take down Closer. Gumayusi stays alive and gets the last second heal there as well. Life wants to try and make his way in as, oh, dodging that one's hard, but he does it for at least a while as he will get taken down in the end. Is an overextension though as Pyosik looking to try and get himself out of there. Flips around and manages to do it. The Dawning Shadow comes on through. The Aftershock is now down though for Life, so he is likely to fall. One more auto for Kanavi will do it. But somehow Pyosik makes his way out alive.
I mean, that was crazy, the fact that Pyosik was able to finish off the Lucian and disengage from the play.
And still is Gromp back? Is there anything this man cannot do?
We'll see. This game looking like a tough one still, but here we see Closer going in, and in fact, Gumayusi on that low HP, I mean, the healing and shielding does come in, and with the Echoes of Hellier, Delight's constantly trying to do as much damage as he can, getting orders in, stacking it up. So close to going down. Then Pyosik comes in and says, you know what, my ult is point and click. Delight tries to get the Mega Fire kick, but just is a little late. And that allows Pyosik to get in, get the Lucian, and presumably not get out, but he manages to ult on a Zeka and then flip over the terrain. So beautifully played. I think I was just like, okay, 1-for-1s here, but no. Manages to get out again afterwards.
Yeah, I didn't know that the ult reset was actually a safety tool. I always thought that it was a more killing tool.
Honestly, it gives you a really big shield. So often if you get that first kill, the second one just gives you a lot more survivability. Because it's only the reset one that gives you the massive shield that scales like with an insane AD ratio.
Well, it's looking real good, and DNS going to turn that one into a Rift Herald as well. Zeka, though, is just kind of taking crockery from this bottom inner turret.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the way they set up for that, because they had all 5 members just there hitting the Herald. I feel like you can afford to have someone in the side lane with TP. Maybe they're just a bit nervous, but...
yeah.
You know,
things haven't been going great for DNS, so you can understand them being a little more careful than they probably need to be.
Yeah.
All right, piercing amounts of luminosity being traded here in the mid lane. And Dudu making a path, but also losing a bunch of health. Zeka going to show up, and man, he is just a demolition man. That's what this is. Things weren't exactly the most fun in lane, you know, but he's making money by destroying the structures. 1-0-2 now, Rod of Ages as well as Lich Bane complete. Does have the sad slingshot, but when it's item number 3, it feels fine as Shelly gets a double knock-up as Pyosik is able to get the charge, but they look to try and turn it. Paranoia onto a Nefiri is a choice you can make, but not one you're going to be too happy about as they do manage to take down both of the junglers. The Nefiri being dead, though, is a huge deal as Zeus turns up with a big shield, and the Jace feeling very tanky here in this game. Zeus flashing out of the way. I don't know whether that snare would have landed, but better to be safe than sorry as Closer was ghosting towards him. He was put in prison. Maybe the Death Chamber would soon follow.
Both junglers down, though, means that Big's just going to kind of stay alive at this point. Reset's going to come in soon. And, oh, Delight.
Oh, the interruption fire kick gets bowed.
That's so big, actually, because now DNS just aren't going to be in a comfortable position to contest this dragon.
Nope.
Navi's coming back on the map already. I don't think Pyosik's going to be able to get in and get a steal on this one.
Delight literally just got them this dragon.
Yep.
That is what happened. And denying a Mountain Soul, or at least a Mountain Dragon, going to be pretty important because Dudu would absolutely love to get that. Any extra survivability for Life would be phenomenal. I feel like DNS do use a Mountain Soul very, very effectively. As we have a look at this fight one more time, Pyosik just going a little bit too ham.
Yeah, and then immediately Navi's like, oh, I can do that too. And it ends up being a 1-for-1 in terms of junglers. Zeus TP's in with that big shield. Initially seems like too much of a threat to handle, but they do try and chase him down here. He has to flash the root. You know the follow-up from the Rise will be there if he didn't, so it makes sense to be in that summon and keep yourself alive. Mountain Dragon picked up. It is a gold lead. to HLE. It is there, but...
Oh, Yoshik making his way down towards this bottom side as Dudu flashing in on top of the Jace, and they will be able to take him down, happily tanking up the turret as Pyosik can go untargetable to mitigate that one completely as soon as they're finished. They will sacrifice this outer turret in the mid lane for that play, but getting Zeus on top of it and trading turrets is still going to be an upward swing for the DN Supers.
Yeah, and I just like that they're being proactive still, despite the fact that this game has had some tough moments in it. They're still trying to make plays happen, still trying to do things, play around the Neferi and just the point-and-click nature of that ultimate. So good for picking off isolated targets, as we've kind of seen here. And obviously, sometimes can be a struggle to find isolated targets into HLE's composition with the global ultimates, but especially when we've just had like a dragon fight, can often be a good timing when they're still on cooldown.
Yeah, let's have a look how the rest of this is going to unfold, because DNS in a much better position this time around in game number 2 than they were in game number 1. And we have Baron spawned about 25 seconds ago. It's now something that both teams need to be aware of, but in 3 minutes time is probably when we're going to get the next big fight, as I think Soul Point going to be something that the DN Supers are going to really struggle to play around.
Oh, for sure. I think as well, a lot of... This is not a ton of damage on the DN Supers. Pyosik wants to get the reset, wants to like finish off a low health target. Bryce can obviously pump damage with Actualize, of course, and just in general. But Senna's not doing a ton, so I think if a Mountain Soul comes through, HLE might just be too bulky to really deal with. Yeah.
Somehow, that anchor didn't land, but Gumayusi is playing very aggressively here. Did, of course, have a Nocturne waiting in the wings. Kanavi now just going to be taking his red buff, and the DN Supers just tidying up waves where they can. Slowly but surely, HLE are extending this lead, but it's not by a massive amount. Closer dies here, could be a little bit larger, but he flashes out of the way, and Zeus is not going to be able to kill the Ryze. Still, Ryze with no flash means that DNS do lose out on a fair bit. Does hit 2 items though, so at least there is that. Has some upgraded shoes. Speaking of upgraded shoes, Zeka is running really quickly in this game.
Oh yeah. And with the Milio range boost and the rapid fire, it's a little ridiculous, the stun card distance that you can kind of set up for. So definitely a dangerous threat there that has to be respected. Can be quite hard to position against this.
Yeah, Fire Kick going to connect onto Dudu, but he is pretty tanky. They do get the Destiny down. Flash out from Delight. That's a big cooldown onto the Milio, makes him somewhat susceptible. Zeka comes in with the gate towards this mid lane. Oh, there's the turnaround as Gumayusi does manage to find the Relentless Pursuit button in order to get himself out of the way of that one.
This game feels so tense right now.
Really does.
Dragon in a minute 15. You see the resets coming in from HLE just to be ready for that objective spawn.
Yeah, I feel like maybe that's why it feels so intense, because there's not actually anything worth dying for right now on the map. It's all just about the setup around this dragon.
Yeah.
Try and make sure that they can get in there safely. It's also a Mountain Drake, so they are just a bit bulky.
Getting bulky.
Take a bit of killing.
With each one they're able to pick up. I mean, you know Cassante would love to get a handful of Mountain Drakes.
Yeah, it doesn't sound too bad.
So we see it was HLE who reset first, got in a position first. DNS still late, and wary of face checking, which I think makes complete sense into this TF composition. You face check, you'll get stun carded. Good odds that you just die.
Kanavi just wanders up to them to see what would happen. They try and hit you, I guess, is what he learnt. Zeka does get that epically long-range gold card.
Ooh, big shot blast.
Yeah, the follow-up. And it's so clean as well when it does happen. Get them stunned up. Shock Blast follows. Doesn't follow that time because it's just Dudu. Now taking a fair bit of poke. Nocturne also helping out with some poke. That's kind of funny as the Culling comes on through. Dredgeline is going to at least stop the rest of that damage from coming through as there's a red card. Kind of like it for the extra AoE, but the big old shield comes on through. They look to try and turn it onto Zeus. Into the backline goes Kanavi though, and he gets all outed immediately. They do get life, but down will go the Nocturne. The flash from Pyosik is not going to be enough, but they do kill Delight. And Zeka is forced to run away. Zeus somehow surviving on a sliver of health. as it is going to be a 2-for-2 trade in the end, assuming Zeka can stay alive. But I don't think this turret is going to do that. And so a bit of a win here for DNS, you could say.
He's just TPing in.
Okay, Realm Warp.
Oh,
Gets him out. Almost the gold card.
if he stunned Closer there, that would have been huge. This fight, pretty chaotic here. The red card comes in for the AoE slow, catching all of them. And then Zeus ends up a little isolated here, and they all jump onto him. He has to flash away to not immediately die. We see Kanavi dives forward and just gets focused down. Gives a reset over to Pioshik, but he unfortunately does not survive to go much further. And then in this position, Zeus and Guma are just so low, they can't really participate anymore.
Wait, why is this the outcome?
Well, because when Zeus went for the TP, all of DNS kind of had to respect it and back away, the ones who were there. And
Yeah,
they were I think they were just late to get back after that.
Oh no. A little bit unfortunate. DNS sort of give that one up without too much more of a fight after that initial relatively even trade. But both junglers dying. Kanavi makes his way back a little bit sooner. So the DN Supers now having to deal with Soul Point available for HLE for the rest of this game.
Yeah, and it just puts so much pressure on that Dragon, because if they get the Mountain Soul, the game's going to feel very difficult, as if it isn't already. But could just be the point of no return.
Oh dear, Dr. needing to try and keep life alive. I feel like that's been his job so far this game, as playing this Nautilus has seemed miserable at best.
I mean, this is kind of what I was talking about with the Senna Soul. 68, 26 minutes. Just feels a little bit more underwhelming than what we used to.
Yep.
Even for older iterations of farming, Senna would get a bit more souls than this. So definitely playing around the stats of the items a good amount, not just the souls and what they offer.
I'm wondering if there are any Mayday Parade fans in chat. They did just quote one of their songs. It was a favorite of mine back in high school.
Yeah?
There's probably not, though. That's all right. Gumayusi and Kanavi just to get together, take down a red buff. And let's see whether HLE are going to actually try and play sides, which I expect this composition does kind of want to do, even if Jace can be a little bit in danger. Not exactly the safest of side laners, but if you do get in close proximity to a turret, you do just kind of wipe it out immediately.
Yep. Feels like both teams have been trying to set up HLE right now around this Baron, getting a lot of deep vision. You saw this vision line that DNS got a little bit deeper here. Will it be spotted and cleared out? Looks like one of the wards got cleared there, but there is a singular red ward behind line of vision. Now, Realm Warp comes in.
Yeah, they bring everyone and some of the minions there as well, as Zeka is able to flash his way out, but the dredge line will catch him, and down goes the TF. That's a nice pick here for the DN Supers.
Yeah. Able to pick up the TF, now turning onto the Baron.
Does this guarantee the Baron, though? That's the question. They've got 40 seconds to take this one down. That will be enough to kill it. But can they stop Kanavi from going for a steal? As Closer off on the side lane, they cannot lose their Ryze, who does flash into that Baron pit. But now the Baron is on the side of HLE, doing so much work towards DNS. And Kanavi gets into the pit. This is going to be a 50-50 at best here for the DN Supers. Feels like such a dangerous gambit, as Kanavi still hasn't turned. Oh, he doesn't actually have Paranoia available, and the Baron is going to be secured here by Pioshik. And the rest of HLE, they might be able to take Dudu as their consolation prize. But this is one heck of a teleport. And down goes Closer as well. Zeus surviving for about forever, as Delight almost manages to make it even better at the end. Life realizing that he has to sacrifice himself, but did he even really have to? As here's the gate in. And Dr. has barely a health bar, so he is likely to just straight up die, and Pioshik just ran out of buttons to try and stop them from killing his AD carry.
HLE just refusing to let DNS walk away from that one. The discipline around the Baron from DNS was actually really good, but unfortunately they just weren't able to disengage from the fight that came after. So this initial pick, I mean, consecutive, just honestly really good setups from DNS. They get this initial pick. Guma, this dash was funny. I thought he was going to dash in front and block. No way. There's no way you make that play. It looked like he was about to. Here, though, this is great work from Dudu to disrupt the Nocturne and stop Kanavi from getting in. He actually flashed to try and kill Closer, and that meant he didn't have flash here, so Dudu could just beeline for him, drag him completely away from the pit, and ensure that they are the ones to get the Baron. So hard to deal with a Cassante in a situation like this. And then in the follow-up play, we see both, well, we see firstly Dudu going down, and then Zeus TPs into all these members, but he manages to kill Closer, and although he dies for it, it's numbers advantage for HLE, and they just go super aggressive here. Destiny is back up for Zeka. He's able to get the stun card in, and Kanavi gets this final kill onto Dokdam. Only Pyosik has the Baron still in hand, and now we're looking towards this Dragon for Soul.
Okay. There's a little bit of attempted Realm Warp look in, but they decide not to go for it as Pyosik flips over the wall. Just trying to fish with a few of these Qs. Zeus has the lights turned off here. Shock Blast could be pretty deadly at this moment. Mountain Soul, such a big deal here for both sides. That is a big Shock Blast that's going to connect. Good poke to start this one off early. Can Pyosik get another good smite? That's going to be the question as the Paranoia gets Kanavi in there. The flash out from the center, gets on over, but that is going to be Pyosik with the denial once again. But can they get themselves out? That's the question. As already, Senna's gone down, Dudu is dead as well. Pyosik trying to find these resets though in this fight, and he has found a couple. Zeus goes to the skies though and sends Closer there as well, as Pyosik is just trying to be an absolute hero here in this game. And Zeka will just force him over that wall, and they deny the Mountain Soul, and Pyosik makes his way out with a 4-for-4.
That's a big takeaway, denying the Mountain Soul, and the fight ends on even terms, which is crazy after all that. Zeus here gets a big Shot Blast. It's mitigated a good amount by the Senna, though, with the healing. Then the fight just ends up getting a little bit hectic after this. We see Kanavi diving in, trying to get onto the center, but the ult comes back across. Zeka then just hunts down Dokdam. Dragon secured by Pyosik, and he just kind of runs rampant in this fight without anyone really able to check him. And this is one of the issues that I was kind of talking about when the TF came in, despite the Neferi on the other side. TF just not very good into this pick because it's so hard to stun card the Neferi, who can just go untargetable whenever it's thrown at you.
And it hasn't seemed like it's been as much of a problem because Zeka has been focusing on other targets, but I think he might need to be focusing on Pyosik. He's got 3 items now completed. This Neferi is becoming very problematic, as that is Kanavi at least locking down a Rift Scuttler, but Pyosik goes in just to get on top of the Nocturne. The Paranoia for the turnaround, as oh dear, Pyosik is so important here for the DN Supers, as Zeka has found the backline, but does have to flash as he is now completely alone. Gets the ulti out of the Melio. The wildcards do fly on forward. Shock Blast doing a fair amount of work here, but Pyosik's the only one that's really lost any health bar, and it looks like he is not too perturbed. This game's getting weird.
This game's crazy at this point. The cleanse from Delight, pretty huge there to save. Oh, they're looking here towards the blue buff now.
Yeah, that one's getting started up.
This game can't be decided over blue buff, I swear.
Yes, it can. I swear.
No, Pyosik gave it up. He walked away.
But he could have all-in.
I think this might be what happens when you just get the hyper-aggression of Kanavi clashing with the chaotic vibes of Pyosik.
Yeah. It's almost as if it's like a hold my beer type moment.
Yeah.
Because Pyosik certainly, like, he won Worlds, just flipping coins over and over again, and just always having it come up heads. And his smite button in this game kind of reminds me of back then, right? Like, he just did not lose a smite fight, I swear. Like, all of that entire 2022 Worlds run, it's looking like we're getting a bit of that flavor once more, as he's thrown these hot dog daggers around. Able to find too much more. A lot of this gold lead that we can see here, by the way, 3.2k is on the TF, as Gumayusi is going to get engaged on here. They do have Delight as the Realm Orb comes in as well. They haven't found the initial pick as Kanavi dove into that backline, but Dokdam keeps himself alive. And now Kanavi goes into his GA in the most uncomfortable of circumstances. And that is a dead jungler with a Baron on the Rift. All right, gold card being thrown out here, but onto Dudu. I don't think he cares about that at all. And the DN Supers, if at first Baron you don't succeed, just kill the next one. That's the saying. Oh, Gumayusi going so aggressive here, able to dodge out of the way of the hook. The Baron doing so much work yet again, and Zeus biding his time. Closer and Life are going to get on over there as Pyosik dashing on in. Big ol' heal onto Zeus, that'll keep him alive. But remember, Pyosik's the only one with a smite, so he will be able to take down this Baron. It's just whether they can keep themselves alive. The center is dead. Closer goes golden, but he's going to die in a second, and I've seen this movie before, and it did not go very well for the DN Supers. They even have another teleport to get towards his top side, and Pyosik is going to be the last man with a Baron again. Wait, unless he just dies. Maybe that's the plot twist for the end of the sequel, is that actually the dog dies in the end. Oh no, it's I Am Legend all over again. He does get over the wall, but that is going to be Zeka picking up the towers. It's the Jace picking up the kill, and HLE will pick up a 2-0 to stay in first place.
DNS really making them fight for it in this one. They managed to secure the Baron, but the ensuing fight, the low health bars trying to escape away, but unable to do so. And HLE will claim their second Nexus of the night, but not before getting...
Yeah. Of course, Kanavi takes a visit to the fountain, but then the Nexus will go down. HLE remaining in the lead here in the LCK.